How's it going, everyone? In this video, we have some big news on MJF and Swerve Strickland, another WWE star potentially gone from the company, and a whole lot more. But before we begin, please make sure to drop a like on this video. I would really appreciate it. Alright guys, so for our first story of today, we have the ratings for Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage, and Collision. So according to a new report from Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics, Friday Night SmackDown drew 1,770,000 viewers with a 0.45 in the key demo rating. AEW Rampage drew 233,000 viewers and a 0.08 in the key demo rating, and AEW Collision drew 157,000 viewers with a 0.04 in the key demo rating. Next up, we have some big news on whether Friday Night SmackDown will now be 3 hours after moving to the USA Network. So even though there have been a ton of rumors circulating around online saying that SmackDown will now be 3 hours long after leaving Fox, according to TV Insider and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, those rumors are simply false. And if you take a look at the TV schedule for the debut episode, SmackDown is still set to start at 8 and end at 10 p.m. Next, we have some bad news for MJF and Swerve Strickland, because following their respective matches at AEW All Out, according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, both MJF and Swerve Strickland will be taking some time off from AEW after they were written off of television with injury angles at AEW All Out. And at this point in time, there is no timetable for either wrestler's return. Moving on to our next story, we have some big news that another WWE star could be gone from the company, because after last appearing on the June 17th episode of Monday Night Raw, Mike Johnson of PWInsider.com is now reporting that 𝘽𝙍𝙀𝘼 has been pulled from WWE's active roster and moved to the mix section, which is where talents are usually shifted to if they are injured or for talent who make rare appearances but aren't full-time. So now guys, I want to give you my thoughts and opinions on all of the topics that we discussed today. Starting off with our first story, we did talk about the ratings for Friday Night SmackDown, AEW Rampage, and Collision. And from the looks of it, guys, the only show that did a pretty consistent number was Rampage. And if you take a look at Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Collision, they both saw a significant drop in the ratings department, which could be attributed to the NFL, which is pretty understandable. However, when it comes to Collision, they did draw a very, very low number, and I'm not too sure if this is their lowest number in the shows in AEW Collision's history, but it is a very bad number. So I guess we'll have to wait and see if Tony Khan will do something about, perhaps switching up, having more interesting matches, interesting storylines for Collision, as well as Dynamite, because Dynamite has been drawing very low numbers as well, and now Collision has seen a pretty significant decrease for last Friday's episode. So it remains to be seen if Tony Khan will try to shake things up to create interest for Collision and as well as Rampage and Dynamite. The next story that we talked about was about a rumor circulating around online saying that Friday Night SmackDown, since they are no longer on Fox and now on the USA Network, that they will be 3 hours long. And according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, he is saying that those rumors are just simply rumors, and that is not the case. And SmackDown will remain a 2-hour show, which is best in my opinion, because despite the fact that Triple H has done a very good job in terms of booking Monday Night Raw and, it being a 3-hour show, it has improved in the sense that you can now watch it more, and it doesn't really have those spots where you're just bored and just waiting for better things to, come up on the show. But in my opinion, I think that a 2-hour show is best in my opinion. And if I were to decide whether Raw should be 3 or 2 hours, I would say 2 hours because it's a more digestible show. I think that you could do a lot in 2 hours, and 3 hours is just a very long time. So thankfully, guys, this rumor that was saying that SmackDown will now be 3 hours, thankfully it's false because I think that Friday Night SmackDown being a 2 hour show is very good in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure that fans are very happy with the show being 2 hours instead of three. The next story that we talked about was on MJF and Swerve Strickland, and it looks like, guys, they will be taking some time off from AEW television because after their brutal matches at AEW All Out this past weekend, Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer did state that MJF and Swerve Strickland will be taking some time off from the company, which is why AEW booked the injury angles, which took place at All Out, where they, got, I guess you could say, brutally injured in their respective matches. However, Dave Meltzer did say that there is no timetable for when MJF or when Swerve Strickland will be returning to television. And I think that in the case of Swerve Strickland, it does make sense because he has been pretty active for several months now. And I can't honestly remember a time where he took, just time off from television to rest up or, things like that. However, one thing that is pretty concerning is MJF because MJF did recently return to AEW television, and I guess the reason as to why he's taking a break from television from AEW remains unclear. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do with some kind of injury or something like that, which is bad in my opinion because as we all know, he prior to him returning, he was off of AEW television for several months due to a shoulder injury, I believe, which took him out for quite some time. So hopefully it's nothing injury related, and hopefully it's just something like of him just resting up and taking time off. The other story that we talked about was that another WWE superstar was removed from the active roster section, and that is Kiana James, who back in, I believe, on June 17th was her last appearance on Monday Night Raw, and since then she has not been seen on television, which is pretty interesting because she was on NXT and then she was drafted to the Red Brand, and then she did have, I believe it was 2 appearances on Monday Night Raw, and then she just basically disappeared, and none of the wrestling outlets had said anything about her as to why she was off of television. And now a report from Mike Johnson is saying that she was removed from the active roster and moved to the MISC section, which is where typically injured stars are placed, or for wrestlers who make limited appearances. So I guess, guys, hopefully it is a matter of injury, that she is dealing with some kind of injury that is not permitting her to appear on television, and it's not something that's where WWE is perhaps thinking about releasing her because they have no creative plans for her and or things like that. So with that being said, guys, that is all of the news that we have for today. Please make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions on all of those stories in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.